Listening to music that doesn't have any dynamics is boring. It's one of those things that you just need them to add a wee bit of colour into it. So I want to have a look at, what they look like, what they are, and how we use them. I always start with the two sort of basic ones. One is forte and the other one is piano. Forte basically means loud and piano means soft. You can often see them abbreviated to just F for forte, obviously, because that would be weird if it was for piano, and P for piano. There are variants of each one of these. I mean, basically, when you've got forte, you could have mezzo forte, which means quite loud, or you can have fortissimo, which means really loud. Now, there are other ones as well, but these are the most common ones. The same goes for piano as well. You get mezzo piano, which means quite loud. Mezzo is basically the quite bit. And then you get pianissimo, which is very quiet. Now, to save writing these out in full all the time on the music and save a wee bit of space, then abbreviations are used. So for piano, it's just a P, as I mentioned. For mezzo piano, you would have MP, and for pianissimo, you would have double P. Now for forte, you would have F for the forte, as I said before. Then for mezzo forte, strangely enough, you would have MF. And then for fortissimo, you would have a double F. When you look at some music, especially the more kind of modern you get, if you go from maybe Beethoven and beyond, you'll start to see a wider range of dynamics. I mean, I've given you kind of 6 basic ones that are the most common ones, but you do start to see like 3 Ps or 4 Ps, and the same in the forte side, you'll maybe see like 3 Fs or 4 Fs or even more. But all the composer's trying to get across to you there is that you really want this bit to be like crazy mega loud or really teensy quiet. Next, I want to talk about how we get from one dynamic to the other. I mean, basically, you don't always have, or you do get it, but you don't always just go forte and straight to piano, and then piano straight to pianissimo, and then pianissimo straight to double forte. Quite often what's used is crescendos, which means to get gradually louder, or diminuendo, which means to get gradually quieter. And basically that helps us kind of merge one dynamic into the other, if you like. Now, crescendo can be either written as crescendo or just C-R-E-S-C. Diminuendo can be written as diminuendo or as D-I-M. Now, another way crescendo can be written is almost like you have a greater than symbol that starts obviously at the point and gets wider as you go along, and then the diminuendo is the opposite. It starts wide and comes towards a point, and these can actually last, they don't have to be over 2 notes or 3 notes, they could actually last multiple bars. One other thing about bringing more dynamic to your pieces is a thing called accents. Now, the first one I'll go into is the most common one, and that looks like a greater than symbol that's written on the opposite side of the stem generally of the note, and that means that you just want to bring it out a wee bit more. So if I was to play a C pentascale and I wanted the last note to be slightly accented, I would put in that sign and just put a wee bit more pressure on that. Now these things have got to be within the context of the piece that you're written, I believe. So what I mean is you don't want to be like, because that's just disgusting, unless it's what's asked for, of course. So that's when you're doing accents, just keep them within the context of the dynamic that you're playing at that time. Now another kind of accent you can see actually looks a bit like a wee hat, if you like, a wizard's hat. It is the same as the other accent, but just slightly more again. Alright, so a wee bit more weight behind the key to just bring it out a wee bit louder. Other types of accents that you get would be sforzando, for example, and that would be generally abbreviated to either SF or SFZ. And this again just means to bring it out. So you might be playing a wee passage. It could be something like that, and you want the last chord to stand out. You maybe write a wee SF under it, so you just to have a nice strong finish or something along those lines. You also get another thing called fortepiano, which is basically you play the note that it's written under as a forte, as loud, and then the following notes would be piano. So for example, if I was just going back to that C pentascale again, the first note, if I had fortepiano there, it would play that loud and the rest would be soft. like that. Okay, before I go into the last thing about dynamics, you know, if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and you'll get notifications on any future videos that I release. So, how do we work dynamics when we actually get a new piece or we're working on a piece? I generally start by just analysing, you know, how many dynamics have we got within the piece? You know, have we only got a forte, or have we only got a piano? You know, and if that's the case, then fine. All you need to do is make sure that you play the whole piece either soft or loud, depending on what it's asking for. Then you step up a wee bit and you start to see maybe two dynamics. So you might see a forte for the first line, a piano for the second and third line, and then a forte for the fourth line, for argument's sake. Oh, there's no real kind of, you must play this at this decibel level or you are wrong. You just need to make sure there's a clear difference between each dynamic. So when you play your forte section, make sure it's nice and strong, and then when you move into a piano section, just make sure, you know, you bring it down a lot, and then when you come back to forte, bring it back out again. From there, you'll start to see more dynamics. So earlier on, I kind of mentioned 6 different dynamics, and you may see that across a piece. Now, there's going to be subtle differences. The more dynamic range that you're asked for, the more subtle the change will be between the dynamic. And you just need to kind of sit down and figure out, you know, what is my quietest sound like? What does it feel like to play it? What's my loudest like? What does it feel like to play it? And then just kind of slot all the rest of them in between. If you like this video, I've got loads of videos on sort of theory for beginners that you can have a look at. And as I say, if you've got any questions, just fire them into the comments below. Thanks again for your time, and I'll speak to you in a future video.